We need to have a deeper meaning for selling real estate. We recognize the fact that the very value proposition of selling real estate is under attack. We also recognize that those who do find the deeper meaning of real estate and are able to bring purpose beyond just a transaction are going to do really well in the coming market. Today's episode, we're highlighting an author, a coach, and a top producing agent out of Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm excited to introduce you to her. So be excited because this episode is going to be a great one. How do those of us in the real estate industry with crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we simultaneously seek success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard, and this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. All right, welcome back, everybody. Excited to be here with my lovely co-host, Stephanie Peck. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi, I'm super excited to be here.
Likewise, and I know we are excited to bring our audience to be able to meet Jackie Seamerau-Tate. Jackie, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. That's how I've been saying it all week. So,
you were very close, and it's fine.
Well, give us how it should be said so that when our audience reaches out to you, they'll know how to properly pronounce your name.
Jackie Seamerau-Tate.
Seamerau.
Yep.
That was close. Well, so glad to have you here. Again, I know you again have some great accomplishments. The one that we love probably the most is the fact that you are a top producer in Flagstaff. So we're excited to have a great connection in Flagstaff now. Tell us quickly, maybe this concept of finding a deeper meaning in real estate, right? In selling real estate. How did you come to really kind of have this be something you're passionate to talk about? I assume there's a journey or there's a story for you about this concept.
There's definitely been a journey. I'll give you kind of the short cliff notes on it, but it really was when I started in real estate, it was more about, how I can use what I know to help other people, but I was really more focused on me. Right? What I know, building my brand. I think in real estate, you can get very lost in the ego of things because you have to, you're always selling yourself. So maybe you start to believe your own press, and that might have been my situation. I'm not saying it is, but I think it was. And so I do think, though, that when we faced the Great Recession and I got down to the bottom of everything and lost it all the good stuff. I mean, that's the whole story in and of itself. But the key that I found when I came back from that is to understand that it's not about me. It's 100% about my clients and how now I'm looking at it like, well, my knowledge and expertise in real estate can help others. So how can I best serve you by putting that to use? And so for me, it's about them. It's about their story. It's about the fact that as a real estate agent, every single time we get to go in and sit at a seller's dining room table or put a buyer in the car, we are there to literally help their dreams come true. We make a big difference in a very stressful situation. A lot of times, there's studies that show that selling a house is more stressful than going through a divorce. So, I look at that and go, okay, how can I help take away as much of the stress off of your plate as possible so that I can help you move on to that next phase of your life, whatever that looks like. And so when you look at it as I'm honored to come alongside people for this little short part of their journey, it changes everything.
Boy, I love so much about what you said, and I'm excited to hear what Stephanie has to say about this. One thing that really stood out to me that really resonates with us, right? The foundation of Think Bigger Real Estate is successful businesses and significant lives. And I think simply chasing a successful business can get hollow and empty, and it lacks fulfillment. It's fun and it's exciting, and we get kind of our ego gets boosted. But there comes a point where we want more than that. We actually want fulfillment. And I think what you've said there about getting beyond ourselves, right? Purpose and meaning and significance all happens outside of us. And when you can have a business focus, like you just described, that is bigger than you, it's not about you, it's about the other people and how important this is to them. It really fits nicely with what we believe. Stephanie, what are your thoughts as you heard this story, having been in the business again for 17 years, having gone through the ups and the downs? share with us kind of what your highlights were from what she just shared.
Yeah, when you have that perspective of how am I impacting this person's life, whether it's your client or the co-op agent or whoever you get to be a part of in that transaction, how can I have a positive impact on their life? Then you find a greater purpose in what you're doing, as opposed to I'm just here for the transaction. This is just transactional. I'm going to check the boxes. I mean, that basically doesn't make us any more than a transaction coordinator, which transaction coordinators are very, very important, by the way. Love the transaction coordinator, but we're here for a greater purpose than making sure the boxes are checked and someone shows up with keys in hand at the end of it, because it is such a stressful situation. It is a big moment in people's lives. And if we don't show up to help them, we realize they probably wouldn't have been able to do it on their own. And we find great purpose in getting them to a place where they wouldn't have been if we weren't a part of that with them.
Stephanie, for the first time, we've been co-hosting this for a little bit now. That new sign over your shoulder is new. It says "Think Big." I'm just noticing this. And
Yeah.
so super fun to hear you talk about what bigger means to you, right? That it's more than a transaction. Jackie, help us understand what an agent can do on a very tactical level, right? Like this all sounds fun, but at the end of the day, we're still selling real estate, right? We're still kind of doing that stuff. What looks different for you day to day, maybe, or maybe in those interactions? Kind of walk us through that.
So the first and foremost, I have built my relationship or my business by relationship. And I think that's the most important thing, is to understand that, like what Stephanie just said, we don't want to be just transactional. So if we're just putting ourselves out there in such a way that we're, hey, I'm looking for that next listing, I'm looking for that next buyer, it's just a number, I'm looking to plug the hole, then we tend to approach it that way. But I approach my business more so worrying about the other people that I'm connecting with. So if you start from the time you call someone, and it doesn't matter how they came through. Definitely, when we talk about building a business by relationship, a lot of times people think, okay, sphere of influence and referrals, agent to agent referrals. And to me, yes, those are fantastic. But even when my phone rings from somebody who found me online, or it's a lead that came in completely cold off of maybe a sign call from my listing, if you approach it by asking the question in your own mind of saying, okay, this person's coming to me with a very real need. They're connecting with me because that need has something to do with real estate, and that's where my expertise lies. So let me dig into their motivation, not just, okay, how many bedrooms do you need? What price are you looking to get on your house? Whatever, the situation is, but what's your motivation? What's behind that? Tell me your story. So then I can help fit my expertise into your story, instead of expecting them to fit their real estate needs into my story. Does that resonate? Do you understand where I'm going with that? And how, when you start the conversations that way, tactically speaking, people care so much more about you and allowing you to help. And then they open up to you in such a way that you're able to actually get to the details behind the why. And that helps you do your job even better. So it's a great cycle to get started on if you start by worrying about the relationship first.
Man, so good. Stephanie, what thoughts do you have around that?
I heard something last week that fits so perfectly into this. It's completely changed my perspective on how I communicate with people. We're always taught, treat people the way you want to be treated, and flip the script on that and say, treat people the way they want to be treated. I love what Jackie said. She's making it about them. What do they need? So it's not always about us and our process, or this is how I like to communicate, or this is how I would want to be communicated with. It's about them. How do you like to be communicated with? What is important to you, so that I can make sure that I am hitting those points consistently, because you might not care about some of the things that I think are important.
You know what stands out to me as I hear both of you, again, I can see why you both have been very successful, not just in creating success, but in actually having a career fulfillment, right? That really impacts people in significant ways. But it's more about, or it's less about coming to an appointment with your own agenda. These are the things I'm going to tell you about, and more coming to an appointment with a series of questions. This is what I want to learn about you, right? And I think you said that more eloquently than I did, Jackie. But it's really less about getting people on our agenda and more about how do we fit into their story. It takes me back to a great book that you probably both read, called The Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Yep.
In which he talks about how too often we try and be the hero of the story, and it's flipped. The client needs to be the hero, and when we get that, and we really focus on making them the hero, everything else gets easier. And by the way, that's the way the client wants it. This is their story, and we are there to support and help them become the hero and become have their greatest possible outcome because of the way that we're there supporting them. We get to be Yoda, right?
I was just going to say we're Yoda, not Luke Skywalker. I love that book. That book is so quintessential. And I would definitely say, Justin, if any of your listeners have not yet read it, they need to go and pick that up for sure.
It's a classic. Stephanie, what other questions do you have for Jackie?
Yeah, Jackie, what do you do during the transaction when things get sticky and things are getting tough, either with your client, maybe they're not getting their way, or something has come up? There are a million things that could be. What do you do during the transaction when things get sticky and people are not feeling like it's going the way they want it to? And I know that we can tend to have a tendency to retreat. A lot of agents retreat. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help this person. How do you show up to make sure that you are keeping that mindset of significance to that client?
Stephanie, I am so glad you asked that question, because it all boils down to setting the expectation. I set the expectation right up front with my client. This is how this is going to go. We're going to run into situations in this part of the transaction potentially. And if that happens, here's how we can handle it. And so then if it goes smoothly, they just think, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. Thank you so much, because they already had the awareness that it may not. And then if it doesn't go smoothly, I have so many times I've heard my clients say to me, Jackie, you told us this could happen. And they are prepared for it. And like, I'll use, for example, with sellers, we all know that we go in with our data, we look at the price, we know the market, we know the appetite of the market. Are buyers going to be hot for this house? Is it going to be a little bit harder? Is this going to need a more specific buyer? And so we come in and suggest a price, but pricing sometimes is more of an art than a science. And so when the seller says, well, looking at all that data, I want to swing for the fences. And I never list a house where, like, if the data shows $1 million, they want $1 million, list for $1.5 million. I'm not your agent. Good luck. I'm sorry. But if the data shows $1 million and they want to go slightly above that, okay, let's swing for the fences. This is what I tell them, though, is I'll say, listen, there's 2 signs of an overpriced property. And so if we get either of those signs, and I describe what they are, if we get either of those signs, we have to react quickly. If it's sign number 1, we need to react within a week. If it's sign number 2, we need to react within 4 to 6 weeks. And so then when I approach them and say, hey, we have this happening, they'll say, okay, you warned us. We were prepared for it. Let's lower the price to where you said you should be. But if you don't have that conversation up front, you just go, okay, you say you want this much, let's go for that much and see what happens. Now it's a constant battle. And now you're looking like maybe you're not doing the right marketing. Maybe you're not doing your job, things like that. So you set those expectations up front, and the buyer or the seller come to the table knowing that when it happens, they're like, oh, yeah, you know what you're talking about. This happened. Let's react the way you're suggesting.
Yeah. And so what do you do? Let me take that one step farther. What do you do in your personal life outside of the transaction? When things are going great, it is easy to get home and feel really good about yourself. And I am changing lives. This business is amazing. But we don't always feel that way. So at the end of the day, when you remove yourself from the transaction, what do you do personally to say, I still had significance in this business and in this transaction and in this person's life, even when they're not seeing it?
That is, oh my gosh. So we've all been there. And I will say you actually already answered the question, is you have to remove yourself from the situation. You can't take this business completely personal. So what I teach my team and the agents I coach is that at the end of the day, when you get home, if you can look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, did I do everything to the best of my ability today? And if the answer is yes, then you have to let it go. You can only be responsible for you. You cannot be responsible for anything outside of that. You know, something happens to the house and something leaks and water damage and all the things. Did I do everything I could? Did I connect my seller with the right plumber? Did I make the calls on their behalf? Did I do what I could do? Okay, I did. Great. Will the seller not listen to me to do the price reduction? And in the end of the day, they're just stuck on their number and they're not listening to the signs of the overpriced property and things like that. If I did everything I could, if I sent them the data, I showed them the reports, the feedback, what else is in their price range going on the market. Did I do everything I could? If the answer is yes, then I have to let it go because it's not about me. So, if the answer is no, I could have done better, then you know what? I just go, okay, lesson learned. Next time, here's what we do. And, you got to move forward from there. You cannot take on, as much as I say that my job is to take on as much of the stress as possible, I do let them know that I can't take all the stress. And so there are times when I look at it and go, this one's not about me. So I'm going to go enjoy my time with my husband. I'm going to shut down and walk away from it. So you said it exactly. Remove yourself from that situation.
The thing I love about this is that we remove ourselves from the situation up front to where we're not the hero they are, right? Mm-hmm. Which, again, then the same thing happens, whether it goes great or whether it doesn't go great, right? We all know that happens at times. The lesson I hear you saying is that it's their show. It's their show. And we're going to give them all of the Yoda type insight and advice, but ultimately they have agency to choose how they want to go about that. And I think I could see how that counsel, Jackie, would really give someone the ability to not get burnt out in this business, right? They're not taking on the consequences of someone's ill-informed or rejecting well-informed decision, right? That really allows you to be alleviated from that. Stephanie, what other thoughts do you have on that?
Yeah, I just resonate with it so much. And one top producer to another it's creating a great dynamic of conversation here because we've been in that situation. We currently are in that situation with some clients where we do have to say, you know what? I didn't tell you to buy this home 5 years ago at that price. I didn't tell you to hire that roofer last year before you called me. I'm here to control what I can control today. And I have to leave the rest. And it is okay to still say that, like, I still have significance in this business and in what I'm doing every day, even though I can't control every piece of the situation.
Yeah. Can I share with you one of the lines I use all the time with my clients that I find really helpful is that I will tell them when we get into these types of situations, I will say, listen, it is my job to share with you the data, my wisdom, and the years of my expertise. That's my job. It's your job to make the hard decisions as to what to do with that information. And just let you know, I support you 100%. No matter what you choose. And so that really is, it's about them. It's like, so they know I'm not trying to strong arm them in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply giving them the knowledge, the expertise, and what the data shows. And then they get to do with it what they will. And so, when they make the decision I recently had a seller say, well, we're going to listen to our gut. And I went, okay, I support you. I mean, what else can you do?
Mm-hmm. I love that. Say that for us one more time, because that is what you write down. If you got anything from today, you write this down. I'm here to share with you. Go ahead and say it again, Jackie.
It's my job to share with you the data, the wisdom and knowledge that comes from my years of expertise. It's your job to make the tough decisions as to what to do with that information. And I just want to let you know that no matter what you decide, I support you 100%.
I love that. That's going in my book. Thank you.
I love it. You're welcome.
Jackie, that was so good. We have just a few minutes left. And one of the questions that we ask, which is around your growth and your trajectory forward. But before I go there, I want to ask, is there something that that people can do to access more of you? I know you've obviously authored a book. Kind of give us some insight as to how people can find you, and then we'll move to the final question.
Great. Well, for your audience today, I do have a free download. If they go to the website byrelationship.com, there's a download, and it is a simple 4-step guide on working your sphere of influence. And that's for free and all that fun stuff. Other than that, you can definitely connect with me if you go to stepstostrength.com. You'll find all the links to my books and my social media and all the fun stuff I'm involved with.
I love it. So good. Thank you for sharing that.
You bet.
Okay. Final question is this. You're obviously a big thinker, right? Not only are you selling real estate at the highest level, but now you're leading other people. Talk to us about what you do to continue to expand your possibilities, to continue to grow. What does that look like for you?
So, okay, I will tell you, yes, I coach our brand new agents within our brokerage. I coach agents nationwide to build their business by relationship, but I myself have a coach. And I think that that's the most important thing, is that if you think you've reached it, you know it all, you're done, and you don't strive to be coached by others, then I think that that's a real disservice. So I look at it as, okay, the people I coach are maybe where I was just a step ago, maybe a couple of years ago, whatever the case is. And so I choose to get coached by people who are where I want to be in a couple of years or what have you. And so I think that's really important. Make sure you're connecting with someone who you really feel you can learn from, and who's also invested in seeing you be successful. So I think that's if there's one thing you can do to just stay improving yourself. And I will tell you, my coach is not necessarily a real estate coach. My coach is more of a mindset coach.
I love it. Great insight. I want to thank everybody for listening here. Before we wrap up, I just want to make an invitation to the audience, is that you and I both know that there's a lot of things that we can listen to, and rarely do those really move the needle in our business unless we take some sort of action. And so my invitation to everybody listening here is to take one thing that you learned today and DM, go to @ThinkBiggerRealEstate, send us a DM, say, this is what I learned from Jackie today. And I'm confident that just by doing that one exercise, you'll get a lot more out of this episode than anything else that you do today when it comes to your personal growth. And get a coach. And it sounds like Jackie's a great one. So anyway, Jackie, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you very much. And Stephanie, you want to kind of round things off with our final request?
Go think bigger.
I love it. Jackie, thank you again so much for joining us and helping us think bigger today.
Thanks so much for having me.